Howdy howdy from me and Corvus, the spooky cat. He fits the theme because we're doing a ghost swipe with 5 colors today. This is a pretty easy technique. You don't even need silicone, just water, paint, and Flotrol. Let's give it a try and go down to the canvas. We're going to start out by painting our entire canvas black. This is just apple barrel gloss black mixed with the same amount of paint to Flotrol and a little bit of water to get it to the right consistency. It's about the same consistency you'd use for a Dutch pour. And now I'm going to come in with my palette knife and just start spreading that paint out. You want the paint to be kind of thick, but not absolutely crazy thick. Otherwise, your paint will be swallowed up by the background color. And then I'm just going to come in with my hand and make sure all the corners are covered, all the edges are covered. I also am using this as a chance to smooth it out a little bit more. This is also a great chance for me to pick out any chunks of Flotrol that are in my paint. When I originally mixed this paint a couple months ago, I was using old Flotrol and I didn't know that you actually have to strain it to make sure that you don't get chunks like that. Otherwise, you'll have to pull them out. So you'll recall that I said you don't need any silicone for this technique, and that's true, but you'll notice later on in my final product it looks like I used silicone because in a way I did. I was using the same gloves that I had been using this evening and I was working with silicone in my paint earlier. I think I still had some on my gloves and it ended up getting in this black base coat. So that's why it kind of looks like I have silicone in my paint, because there might be some in there. And now that our black base coat is finally done, we can get to painting! I'm starting out with the Apple Barrel Gloss Whites. All of these paints that I'm pouring out now are going to be mixed with the same part paint to Flotrol and then mixed with some water to get a kind of thick cream consistency that I use for my Dutch pours as well. Next, I'm going to use some Alizarin Red from Liquitex Basics. And you really don't need to use a whole lot of paint for this technique, which is great if you're on a budget. I'm going back with a little bit more white on top of that so that the colors aren't mixing too much. And going in with a light rose pink from Master's Touch Acrylics. This bottle was almost empty, which is why it kind of has like a spotty dotty on the canvas. I was trying to go for a straight line like I did with the other ones, but because it was so empty, it ended up being a little more spotty. Didn't do that on purpose. I decided to add some Apple Barrel Turquoise to kind of add a little bit of contrast to this painting, and I am sure happy that I did because it would have been really boring with just the red and the pink. You can really see you do not need a lot of paint for this at all. Now I'm going to grab that same black that I used for my base and make a nice little mound around the paint I just put down. I'm making sure that I move everything out of my way for when I swipe so I don't accidentally knock anything over onto my canvas because that would really suck. I'm going to be using paper towels that I cut into manageable slices and some water to make them move the paint easier. And moment of truth, let's get swiping. You can see I really made sure that that paper towel had full contact with the paint while I dragged it down, and the results are pretty cool, I think. And I'm just going to keep using those wet paper towels to swipe from the center to the edges for the rest of the canvas. Because I did one side of the canvas first and now I'm going to this side, the second side is going to not have as much color because I've already pulled a lot of the color from the center to that other side, but I think it ended up looking really cool, so I'm a fan of this look. A lot of people do it differently where they'll kind of stagger, do one side, then the other side, then one side, then the other side, but I think this turned out pretty cool and I'm happy with it. One of the best things about paper towel is you can cut it to any size, so I can just use a little piece to get this last little edge right here. So you can see the big black spots on this painting only got bigger with time, and those are what I think are remnants of silicone from my gloves when I spread the paint around. So in the future, if you're doing work with silicone, before you do this technique, just be aware that you might get some big black blobs. I really hated them at first, but they definitely grew on me. I also noticed this little white blob in the middle of my painting. I was going to use a palette knife to fix it, but I ended up going for a little strip of paper towel instead. I just took that and swiped it as if I was doing like a tiny little miniature swipe, and it worked out okay. Got rid of the blob and it looked just like part of the painting. I'm just going to come in with my big palette knife real quick and touch up that center line and make sure that the sides are covered and that there isn't big blobs of paint sitting on the edges. And with that, I think we're all done with this one. Let's take a closer look. I'm so happy that I decided to add in the turquoise. I don't think this painting would have looked as good without it. It has like a cool cotton candy look to it. I did not like those big black spots at first, and you can see that there's definitely some kind of silicone on there pushing the paint. But in the end, you can't see the canvas underneath them in the final product, and it turned out pretty neat. And here is our final piece. Nice and dry and hung whichever way you like. The streaks still look really cool, and those black blobs that I didn't like at first are actually not too bad. So, I think it turned out alright. I think I would like to seal this one to make it nice and shiny again. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.